Alright everyone, link in the description to a tweet referring you to something Bitchute has put out with regards to its presence on Patreon. Patreon has temporarily suspended them pending Bitchute obviously appealed and said, look, we conform to your TOS. We already banned people from putting on like violent material and porn and stuff. We conform to Patreon's terms of service. You should reconsider. And they've given them honest credit and said, well, you know, it's not like they just deplatformed us, told us bye. They're actually listening to the appeal, and apparently tomorrow, on Monday, there will be a decision. We need to, therefore, we should tweet it. Patreon. You should email them potentially if you have a Patreon account. Probably bring that up. I will say this. My contribution here. As the largest user on Bitchute, I have more views and subscribers than anyone else. And as a Patreon user, pulling in a fairly significant sum of money every month from donors because I don't take ad revenue. So other than that, in my books, it's like, you know, incomeless lifestyle, I suppose. It's an important way, you know, for me to be able to live my life, to be able to create my content, to focus on editing, video making and stuff. You know, otherwise I'd probably need a 9-to-5 job. There'd be a lot less YouTube videos, so to speak, on my channel, and a lot less Bitchute videos. This is a mirror of the same thing. As the largest Bitchute user, a significant presence on YouTube and elsewhere, I would strongly urge Patreon to reconsider banning them and to reinstate them. Even if you have to use that sort of the weasel word situation there that's happened before with some of the tech firms, like Twitter did with Alex Jones, say, oh, well, in retrospect, you know, they're trying to ban these people, they're actually breaking their TOS, and it aligns closely enough, so we're just going to give them a pass on this. If you have to do that, you should, and I'll tell you why. Patreon is in a unique position to make enormous amounts of money, like fucking, they can't even comprehend the income that they could potentially be privy to over the next decade or two. We are undergoing a social and political paradigm shift. We're also transforming technologically in this world. The old Silicon Valley models are beginning to show signs of strain. Patreon is used by an enormous number of content creators cross-platform. If it put out the call that it needed to be defended, it could do so, and it would have people on every other possible competitor's platform, all the YouTubes and Facebooks and Twitterers that use Patreon. They would have an army. Patreon could literally call up its own personal army at any given time. If you stand for liberty, therefore, none of these other big Silicon Valley firms, they'll go after all tech. None of them will be able to touch you. What are they going to do? Oh yeah, Patreon should be deplatformed by everyone. Yeah, but what's Patreon going to be afraid of? Who's going to be able to boot them off, considering that how many people use your platform and what's their collective audience without overlap between individuals? It's got to be a substantial double-digit portion of all of the major content creators on the whole internet. It's probably like a quarter of all the major content creators in the Western world. You've got nothing to worry about. If Patreon stands on principle, therefore, it can get a much better brand, a much better reputation, and you can spin it however you want. You'll have people like me defending you. But if you go down the other road and deplatform Bitchute, kick off the alt tech and so forth, you're going to make creators nervous, especially a lot of your heavy-hitting political creators, and gaming commentary, honestly. Gaming and ASMR being thrown in, and bodybuilding to an extent. Those sort of groups, for some reason, are considered the rough periphery of socio-political commentary these days. As far as I can tell, having used Bitchute, being its largest user, I'm telling Patreon this. There will be offending content on the site. It's also on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Tumblr, on literally every other website. The difference is that Bitchute is not arbitrarily deciding to kick material off unless it falls outside of their TOS. It doesn't have the new style of malleable Euro-style TOS that's typically being employed by larger firms. That doesn't mean, though, that they're breaking any of your rules. They are a platform, not a publisher. They are diligently, I believe, going after content that would violate Patreon's, you know, relatively loose TOS. It's not exactly the most draconian of the big tech sites, and it is one of the main fundraising platforms online. But much like when Lauren Southern was kicked off of Patreon, the biggest detriment to going down this road is making people nervous. Bitchute has made it in the world. It is a significant enough site, it has enough of a daily user base and enough of a hardened core fan base of people that don't like big Silicon Valley censorship that it could rob Patreon of an enormous amount of income if they were to deplatform them. It doesn't make any sense. And I say this, by the way, in full disclosure. Yes, I donate to Bitchute on Patreon. I have been giving them money. I don't see any particular violation of Patreon's TOS, and I would urge them to reconsider. Now, other people should tweet at them, send them an email if you're inclined. They use some sort of, what is it, Zendesk or some third party to accept like reports and stuff. Yes, because here's the thing. Here's what people don't understand. All these people that are like doom and gloom, oh, we've lost, Silicon Valley's ruled by authoritarian stuff. No, 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 no. What you're not understanding is that the authoritarian, the jackboot-lickers, the thugs of our society, the ne'er-do-well busybodies standing on the corner ridiculing and gossiping about others, they are well organized. So they will show up and send them 1,000 reports in a day about someone who's on their site. They'll mass flag Bitchute or Gab or whatever. Who in defending them has done the same thing? It's very difficult. Larger creators, too often I see other large creators that use these sites, they're not defending them. They won't say anything about it. They stand by idly as tyranny slowly marches and grinds people down. I'm not going to remain silent, though. I think some of them might be afraid. They're like, oh my, I might become a target for deplatforming if I defend Bitchute or if I defend Gab. I'll get called a Nazi by BuzzFeed. Yeah, been there, done that. I don't give a fuck what these people say anymore. And then others, they might not be aware of it. Like they make less content or saying, okay, that's fine. They need to be aware of it. And I need people who support me on here, on YouTube or Bitchute or wherever it is. Talk to these other creators because they may not even know. Like tomorrow the decision will be made by Patreon. The more people that contact them or raise a stink about this and encourage them to do the right thing, stand for free speech, and set themselves up to remind Patreon the socio-political paradigm is shifting right now. If they set themselves up in a line with old school Silicon Valley censorship, they will lose, you can't, probably billions of dollars. I mean, you're looking at 10 winning lottery tickets worth of income you could lose just by making one bad decision. It's that fragile at this moment. Bitchute and Gab and Minds and all of these other groups have been rising despite constant attempts at censorship and suppression. Constant attempts by multi-billion-dollar firms and craptivists and jackbootlickers and even people in Congress. They've all been trying to stop alt tech. They've all been trying to crack down on the alt media, and they've lost. They have consistently been losing for years. Patreon is not one of the big six Silicon Valley firms. They have the unique ability because of their status as one of the major fundraising platforms to stand with free speech. That's how you make your money, Patreon. What's going to happen? Visa, MasterCard is going to come along and say, okay, we're not working with you anymore because you're not draconian enough. You don't censor, no, expose them then. Make them afraid for a change. You can do that, absolutely. They want your money. That's what it's all about. It's all about money. Patreon is looking at this situation from the wrong perspective. They're saying, well, we might feel some pain if we keep these people on the platform. Craftivists will go call up George Soros or something. They'll call up MasterCard and complain about Patreon. That's not the way to look at it. Look at it as though it's this. A little bit of pain now. Again, short-term pain, long-term gain, or you can have the opposite. You can have a short-term gain, you get left alone by the jackbootlickers. You know what'll happen? So let's say you ban Bitchute off of your platform. They'll find something else to complain about. If you were to ban every person that they felt personally slighted by, every person that they considered a Nazi or an extremist or an evil, bad site that has too much free speech, they would make up another list of wrong-think individuals within a week, and then they'll do the same thing. Eventually, they will force you to alienate every significant creator and every significant platform that works with Patreon. It is a terrible idea, so they need to reconsider. And I'm giving this as a user of Patreon. I have no problem with Patreon as a service. I'm trying to give you good advice here. I tried to give advice to VidMe. They don't exist anymore. There's a reason they don't exist. They shied away from trying to promote free speech. You are an American site. You are not a European site. You need to act like it. Otherwise, you're losing out bigly over time. That's about all. Peace out.